And the reason that you need it for the photocopy center is because there was a Kinko's case where Kinko's was doing for-profit course packs without getting permission from the people.
My gosh.
Yeah, this is where this Kinko's problem came from, right? They were being super naughty, and now they're afraid of getting sued over stupid things like, making a photocopy of your grandmother from like 1904.
Right.
And that's not what they were getting sued about, right? That was,
right.
But then they do the self-service, and then they put the signs up, and there's all kinds of stuff. So
yeah, which is good. I mean, that's good that's good that now the signs are up, and people who maybe didn't know, you can't take the proofs that you got from a photographer and go scan them all and just spread them out amongst all your family members.
Right. Now, I mean, you could, right? You could if the photographer says that's okay. Right? Right. If the photographer says, here's the proofs, I don't really care, go do it, whatever, I'm tired of you, I don't care. So here's the copyright. It's just if the photographer says you shouldn't do that. Also, photographers have it really hard because everybody's going to make copies of their stuff and put it up, and they're having trouble, and like they have their own issues.
Yeah. I used to stamp. My husband was doing it, particularly when he was he would do senior portraits and a bunch of that. We had a stamp, and I would put copyright Mike Nelson Photography on the back of every one of those proofs.
Copyright management.
People still copied them, but
but it also I've been researching. There's a you don't even have to register your works. It's great for photographers where you can sue people if they take that stuff off, or if they remove it. Or if they add something, or they change it. If like they had wiped it out and put something else, then you can you can try to get damages. So I don't know. So we live in interesting times. That's all I have to say. And people get fussy.
I'm just concerned that it squelches innovation and creativity from the people.
I agree.
Who would not be abusing those things, right?
That's right. It scares people. They're like, I can't make a Mickey Mouse quilt because that might, it was like, okay, no, Disney's not going to care, right? Like really, like, do you know how much? I mean, they might care, right? They might go after you, but I'm just saying, like, I mean, and that's one of the questions we have is like, when does Disney get upset? Like, when does Disney get upset with people? But I don't know. I think people need information. I interviewed. I love this. He's one of my favorites. So Brian Fry is a law professor who also did films. And so I interviewed him, and I'm like, well, when you're doing your art films, how important is copyright to you? And he's like, yeah, I don't care at all. I'm like, okay, you're a copyright professor? So I'm like, that's really weird. He's like, I don't think about it at all. I'm like, well, what about when you're doing a documentary film? He's like, well, if it's getting sold to CNN or someplace that's going to be like mass, he goes, then I have to clear everything. Yeah. So it was like just totally like, if it's an art piece, don't care at all. I do whatever I want. But if it's going to be commercially shown, then I have to clear it like very, very precisely, and I have to choose the music that's going to get cleared and all that. And I thought that was really telling. That like if a law professor who's had his work in art museums doesn't care when he's doing the artwork, but he does when it's a commercial documentary, I think it's a really good, really good for us to understand. When should we worry, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, you have to go and talk to your son who may be engaged.
I think he might be.
That's good. That's the first engagement that's happened. I say like we don't cut things out, but like adventure happens, right?
Well, if it didn't go well, I'll message you and you'll have to cut it
out. There's no sad face or happy face.
Right.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. Right, well, definitely keep me posted. That's very funny. All right, well, we've gone way over time, but I'm so happy that we did because I think we had you're officially the most organized guest I've ever had. The Pinterest board rocked. It was amazing. I'm not saying that everyone else has to do it, but it was really remarkable. Like, we were very efficient with our time. We had a lot to go through, and it was really impressive. So it was great.
Well, it was really nice meeting you face to face. I've been enjoying this.
And we have to talk about the two sisters. let's chat more about that, because there's a couple of others that want to go, that are thinking about going, and I would love to send a quilting army if you're already there. If you're going to go,
Yeah.
I would love for you to go as a representative of us and chat with people and do some Facebook Live for us and others. Our goal is to get as many of these events as possible. And so we're thinking through what that means. I'm getting cards to you, because cards are really important to hand out. And we have T-shirts. The T-shirts seem to really impress people. It's ridiculous. Somehow if you have a T-shirt with an embroidered thing on it, you look very official. So it's very funny. But anyway, yeah, let's keep chatting. It'll be great. Put it into part 2. Okay, so we are just going to do a quick addition to this, which is, I find I get very scared about what I'm supposed to quilt on a quilt. And you just mentioned that you have a strategy for dealing with this. So tell me what the strategy is. And I'm looking for the email.
So what I want to do is be able to test out different kinds of quilting designs on the actual quilt top that I've made.
Yeah.
So I put my quilt top up on the design wall. It's just flannel on insulation board.
Yeah.
And I took a little picture here so I could show you.
Yeah.
And then I went to the fabric store, and it was at a big box store when I got one of those 60% off coupons.
Yeah. And
I got really heavy duty clear vinyl.
Yeah.
And then I bound it actually with fabric so that I had something to poke pins into where that would hold. And I can lay that. I use dry erase markers. And you can just try to draw all different kinds of designs over your quilt blocks and your background, if that's what you got, and see what you like and what you don't like. And the quilt is protected because it's behind the plastic. And once I come up with something to say, okay, I kind of really like that, then I can just pull my quilt top off and I leave. So I'm sitting actually at my sewing machine table, my quilting table, and my design wall is straight ahead. I'm looking right at it. And I just leave that vinyl sitting up there with the drawing of the quilt path I want to do. Yeah. Hang it there, and I know what to do when I get to those sections.
Now, are you tracing the blocks themselves so you know where to put the lines? Like, how do you know where the lines are?
No, because when I put the quilt top up on the design wall, I lay this over the top. That is literally traced. What you're looking at. Yeah. I think that's one of those African quilts when I was playing around with what I was going to do in the quilting on it's the turquoise quilt. And I actually didn't 100% end up doing what's right there. Oh,
because the turquoise quilt, that's obvious. So that's why that makes sense. So because it's going to be in the shapes, you can tell where the shapes go because it's...
Right. Yeah. And I don't get real fancy with it. Obviously, I just scribbled it up there. Yeah. But it kind of gave me an idea, okay, what will go on there and what do I kind of like? And then when I pull the quilt out from behind it, I've just got this black and white drawing, basically, to look at.
And then you have a reference point.
And you can take a picture of it with your phone and print it if you want. I
love it.
You can erase it and fix part if you like one part of it and not the other. Right. So it's like I'm not married to it because I can erase it, and it just like gets that brain like, oh, I've got one try to get this right. It gets that out of the equation.
You just feel like I'm gonna mess up.
Yeah. So if I mess up on the vinyl and then I make it look like, okay, that's what I want to do. For me, it's like, what am I going to do in this section that I'm staring at? Yeah. And so I try to work it out on the vinyl, and then I just do it on the fabric.
I like that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's what I do. And I have a couple different sizes of those.
Oh, you do? I was going to ask you if you had different sizes of it.
Yeah. Yeah, because some quilts have multiple blocks, so you're not going to do the same thing over the whole quilt.
Right.
So, yeah.
I love it.
That's what I do. Cool.
Awesome. I will add that in. So this is Elizabeth Townsend Guard. You've been listening to Just Wanna Quilt, a research podcast coming out of Tulane University Law School. We want to hear from you. Join our army, our quilting army. Go to our Facebook page. Suggest people to be interviewed. Suggest yourself to be interviewed. We are excited to hear from you. But most importantly, I hope you get a chance to quilt today.